Alright, so this time we're finally getting into the actual pieces, right? We did the introductory, well, fingering and netori and shirabe before. But if you've got the book, you're going to turn over to where the pieces, the actual classical pieces, start. And we're going to start off with Shote today. That's the first piece, all the way on the right side of the page. And that's what it says. Shote, it means literally first hand, and it's not talking about your hands, though of course te is, or hand is another way for another word for a technique, right? Or in this case, it's kind of the name of what seems to be the core of the Honkyoku repertoire of the Hitoyogiri Shakuhachi. There's a progression of Shote, Ichinote, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to number 7. So this would be probably the first pieces that you would learn that kind of give you all the basics of the Hitoyogiri repertoire, all the basic techniques that you need to know to be able to play. So what we're going to do is we're going to play it, and then we're going to break it down a little bit. The first thing we're going to do is just play through. I'll play it for you. You can listen, you can play along, whatever. What we're going to do is add the things that we learned last time too, right? We do tsutsune. No, I don't want to update my Java. I'll do, that's my computer talking to me there. We're going to do tsutsune. We're going to do netori, tsutsune, shirabe, tsutsune, and then the actual piece starts, okay? I'm going to play it all together for you so you can see or hear kind of what it sounds like. Alright, so if we talk about the piece a little bit, right? First of all, usually playing it, before playing it, comes sort of the way that you think about the piece, right? If you're particularly thinking about it at all. It's important to make a certain adjustment, especially for people who are used to listening to music that has kind of tones and melodies as its primary constituent, right? With this kind of music, we're working on tone colors. So the melody by itself, if you just played that on the piano, wouldn't be very interesting. But when you have the different tone colors and different kind of techniques happening, it makes it very interesting and kind of inexhaustible in its inexhaustibleness. All right, make no claims at being eloquent today. The note e appears a lot, right? My feeling about this piece is it's kind of a study of that sound, right? Everything kind of revolves about that sound and decorates that sound and comes back to that sound. You can think of it like a synthesizer piece, right? Think about, something like the Future Sound of London or any of these bands that started to explore experimental synthesizer music, right? They're taking lots of times a certain tone and creating these special textures and fiddling with filters and seeing how they can make this kind of plain sine wave become a very interesting and textured sound, right? That's kind of what we're doing with this. And the texturedness, the texture, the tone color comes out very naturally as the piece gets absorbed into you, as you play it more. Especially if you play it outside and kind of pay attention to what's around you, it'll take on some really interesting characteristics. So hopefully you can find something really valuable there. As for actually playing it, okay, let's take that first phrase. E u e fu e. This is a pattern that we see a lot of the times. This is something that has been added in this book. Older scores just say u e fu e. They don't start with the first e. Anyhow, it's there, so we'll play it. Right. Now, how are you going to play it? You might want to play it a little bit differently than I do, and that's fine. Let the piece kind of, sit with it for a while. Play it for a while. See how it wants to be played. You could just as well play. Now you may be thinking, what's going on with that fu, right? E, fu, e, u, e. That's simple enough, but I'm doing something different with that fu, right? Fu in general is not used for its pitch. It's used as kind of a bubbling effect or a fluttering effect. What happens is you go into tsutsunen very briefly, and then you open and close hole 4 right on the front there. And then you go to the next note from there. So it's kind of a very quick note, in my opinion anyway. Most of the older scores and older explanations that I've read seem to suggest that pretty strongly. They'll say that something like fu means hit, or with fu you go into tsune and then hit 4 and release. So it's a sort of tone color effect. E, u, e, fu, e. Right? That fu again. E, fu, e. Let's play that beginning again. E, u, e, fu, e. Okay. And next you've got ta, e, fu, e, he, he, he. That's he, 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 he. Alright, so ta, e, fu, e, that's no problem, right? The he is what's called, it's they call it yuri, but it's not this kind of yuri. Like just reading it, you might think that, but in explanations of what yuri actually is, they're like, the older manuals will explain that it's not a vibrato. It's not a vibrato. It's a they call it yuri okoshi. Now, if you've ever seen the character he in modern shakuhachi music, it's often the same thing, like a kamuri or something like that, right? So the idea is to kind of just bend the pitch up, bring it up to pitch, start a little bit lower and bring it up. That's my interpretation, and I think that's pretty accurate from everything that I've read. And in the Oshiki pieces, it generally only happens on e, on that fingering e. So you repeat, and you kind of bring it up. This effect is going to be different in the different seasons. You should think about the season when you do the effect. In the spring, they say to do the yuriokoshi so it sounds kind of like a flower blossoming out of the earth, right? Now in the summer, everything is very lively and very awake and already blossomed and it's energetic, so I think if you think about that while you're playing it, you'll come up with something that feels appropriate, right? Sometimes I want to play it a little bit faster because of that and give it a little bit more energy. So, ta e fu e he he he. Continuing on. Right, nothing new in the next phrase there. Next we've got a he. You remember that he, for he you open up all the holes, and it should be an octave above the pitch of hole. So we've got hi e fu e u. And then moving on, houru ho. Alright, not too hard, but you see there's something happening at ru, right? Watch again. Right, that effect is called a mawari, right? You kind of go down and then come up. The fingering for ru, you'll remember, right, is holes 1 and 3 are open. And what you do when you transition from u to ru, you're playing u, your finger comes down to actually be playing something that looks like hole, and then you lift up the finger covering the third hole. You lift up the finger covering the third hole so that you've got that ru fingering. The pitch is the same as e. Right? Ho, ru, ho. You get that again, that kind of bubbling switching of holes going on. Alright, then we've got e, u, and there's a dot. That dot just means repeat u. And the rest should be simple. Let's just go through that one phrase at a time. Ta e fu e. Ta u ru ho, right? And again, we've got the same thing happening with ru right here. And then the character at the end there is tsutsu. That means to play a tsutsune at the end. Alright, so let's give that a little bit of imagination. We will play the introductory pieces, and then we'll play Shote one more time. And, kind of look around you. It's summer, well, as of the time that I'm making this video anyway. Take in your surroundings a little bit. And then let's play it again. Maybe we'll give it a little bit more energy this time. Relax your shoulders there. Good. See you next time, okay? Enjoy. Play it outside.